Hindi siya malog.
So like it is hormonal, but the reason she needs it so much is
Baka may stabilization. Oh.
others say no, it sounds like a sexual thing. Another religious reads Google Urban Dictionary which I did, and there is a list of definitions ranging from the baggage of doing plausible excuses to explain why you can't finish because your wife or others don't like it. Basically you're a bitch baby, all the way to webcomic and all the way to quote.
Kaya mga yung isang podcast na, no? Yung Murder with My Husband. I haven't listened to it. Pero yung top one eh. Murder with My Husband. Yung title. Eh, yung pangalan ng podcast. Ewan ko kung maganda. I haven't heard it.
With one comment reading, this feels like a grossly inappropriate relationship. Others don't think it's that dark necessarily. They
Isa kasi may,
Murder with My Husband.
yun yung pinakasigat na ano, sa Netflix. Meron din, di ba? Ani? Kung sikat?
Dami naman ito.
Ano talaga na kung gusto mo mag-podcast. Gusto mo mag-podcast eh. Kaya ano magkwento ko.
Dami. At yun yung pangalan ng podcast, Murder with My Husband.
Tama ba? Yeah, di ba sa Netflix meron?
Ah, yeah. The Last First Date.
Messages, and I honestly would say that stop putting off your business and start hearing, then you're ready for Shopify. Start your free trial at shopify.com/today. You heard that right. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/today. Shopify.com/husband. You're listening to an Ono Media podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Murder with My Husband. I'm Peyton Marlin. And he's the husband.
I'm the husband. Happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yes, and thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and listening. Another week, another episode. Honestly, we've been working. Literally, that's it. Been working, been grinding, and come back. Oh, Vegas. We were from Vegas last night. Want to tell me about the basketball game?
Yeah, so 2 days ago, Garrett surprised me with WNBA tickets to go see my favorite team, the Dallas Wings in Vegas against the Aces. For those of you that don't know, I don't think I've talked about it here, maybe only in Twitter, but a couple of years ago, I fell down the women's basketball rabbit hole and became a major fan. No, I've never played basketball. No, I've never really watched basketball. But for some reason, yeah, I'm a WNBA fan. And so Garrett surprised me with tickets. It was so good. The seats were so good. Like, it just was such a fun experience. We just went down for less than 24 hours, ate good food, watched the girls.
Canada and US
It's
soccer.
amazing. I mean, it's the
Knockout.
most watched game.
Talaga?
So,
Kanino?
Hindi ko alam. Kahapon natin,
I'm gonna
kahapon.
watch it. USA
Natalo sila kahapon.
gone to round of 32. It's now basically single elimination. They lose, they're out. So we'll see what happens. I mean, even if USA doesn't win the next game, the game are still amazing. But go USA, see what happens. If I were to predict who's going to win this year, not being biased because I want the USA to win, I would say France.
France.
Yeah, so France, Argentina would be pretty cool too. Does the USA have a chance? Yes. Small chance? Yes.
Ito ang dapat.
You never know. You never know. That's my 10 seconds.
Kamusta yung
on the
kwento?
World Cup. Excited.
Last first date.
Next game's gonna be. On that note, let's hop into today's episode.
Our sources for this episode are CNN.com, WNISN.com, ABC17news.com, DailyMail.co.uk, ExpertNews.com, and SoHollandPeople.com. GoFundMe, ShadeysVoiceFoundation.com, WPO.org, CapitalBNews.org, CBS News, USA Herald, Find a Grave, Fox6Now.com, MSN.com, and WHBL.com. Quick disclaimer, this episode includes discussions of dismemberment,
Tapos,
so please, as
Hindi na ako
always,
syempre
listen
nakikita.
with care.
Oo.
tapos pag dumating na ako,
As
ayun,
you know,
nagpakita ka rin.
Eric and I have been married for quite a little while, but there is something about first date jitters that I sort of miss, but maybe don't miss. The butterflies, the getting dressed up, what do I wear, trying to leave a lasting impression to get another date. And honestly, after Gary and I's first date, I was really worried. Like when we got off our first date, I was like, I hope he liked me enough to go on the second date with me.
Dates are always like first dates are always scary because I mean, granted, it's not a lot of stuff about the first date, but first dates are always scary because you can be yourself, but like
You can't.
it's not like you're just yourself. You're nervous. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like
I think some people have the ability.
for sure.
Not me. Like
No.
you were reserved.
Yeah, I feel like everything. Majority of people are toned back a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the first day you just start just doing like say crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyways,
But I do remember, like, most of the time when I would go on a first date, afterwards, I wouldn't feel like this, like, immense pressure. It was more just like either that was fun or that wasn't fun. With you, I got home and I was like, I was reevaluating everything I said and did.
That's
Because I was
cute.
like, I don't think I paid attention enough on the date. Like, I don't know if I was trying hard enough. But I wanted to go on a second date.
and we got married.
I know. So maybe what I did work out.
Yeah,
I feel like we were both pretty reserved.
yeah, I think so too.
So, I think deep down, most of us hope a first date will somehow lead to a happily ever after, Prince Charming, one of our dreams. But not all first dates get that fairy tale ending. And some, as we'll see in today's case, actually end up more like a Stephen King novel, with an ending so disturbing, it'll make you think twice about ever going on a date again. So let me take you guys to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where in 2024, so rather recently, we meet a 19-year-old woman who is basically doing everything she can to build a future for her son. Her name is Sade Robinson. Now, Sade was born on May 10th, 2004. She was originally from Vicksburg, Mississippi, but she moved to Milwaukee with her family when she was around 2. Now, Sade's mother and father were never married, but they split their time with her. They co-parented her, which meant Sade also split her time between 2 high schools, one in Milwaukee and another in Florida. So throughout high school, she would just kind of go back and forth between one and that.
Okay.
And then after that, graduating high school, she went on to study at Milwaukee Area Technical College, getting her degree. But after graduation was actually to join the Air Force. She was the kind of woman who was always thinking about her future. She was working 2 jobs while taking college courses, one at a pizza shop called The Pizza Shop, and then the other as a server at a country club where she actually worked with just a few days before she doesn't show up for her shift, March 31st was Easter Sunday. And Adriana, her little sister, saw her that morning because they worked a shift together at the country club. And then afterwards, they got cleaned up and they actually went over to their grandparents' house for Easter dinner. Adriana said Sade was in a great mood as always. They had a beautiful Easter together. And when Sade dropped her off at home that night, she told her little sister Adriana that she loved her. And then the following morning, Monday, April 1st, we know that Sade FaceTimed her mom, Sheena, and she thought her daughter was actually in an even better mood than usual, but there was nothing that stood out as to why. And then around 9 a.m. that morning, she left her apartment for work. She got to the pizza shuttle at 9:15 for her shift, where she stayed until her scheduled end time of 5 p.m. So this was basically the last day that she's having life. No one noticed anything unusual about her that day, and it wasn't until the following afternoon, so April 2nd, that her coworkers picked up on that something was wrong. Because again, Sade hadn't shown up for work. Her coworkers had tried calling her. There was no answer. They actually tried a few more times throughout the day, like as her shift went on. But her boss knew this wasn't like Sade and felt something was seriously wrong. So her fellow employees and her boss at the pizza place end up calling the police because she's not answering and she missed her shift. Now, meanwhile, as they are calling the police to basically ask for a welfare check, about 3 miles away from the pizza shuttle where she hasn't shown up, police were dealing with another pressing incident. A woman had heard a massive car crash and a giant bang, and when she went outside to investigate, she saw flames emerging from a car. Then when police arrived a few minutes later, they found a 2020 Honda Civic with extreme fire damage. After the flames were extinguished, they obviously start investigating, and thankfully the first thing they notice is there was no one inside this vehicle. But they did pick up on the smell of petroleum in the interior passenger side of the car, which told them whatever had happened, they believe this fire was probably set intentionally, like in public midday, basically.
Speaking of fires, we live in Utah. There is a million fires right now, and it's burning. Like I go outside and I can't go outside.
It's scary.
100 degrees. There's smoke everywhere. It's horrible. Anyways, sorry.
What
Yung bakit don't parking?
anyone, like any homes or anything?
Oh,
Parang
yeah,
wala
it's
naman,
just
no?
Really?
Yeah, the homes in like
Meron na ta.
Okay, yeah,
I've been there.
There's
yeah.
like 2 sets
No
of
fine,
one's
fires
but
died from it, but
things
yeah.
are being destroyed.
yeah,
That's just so
Ano ba
scary.
to? Kaya?
it's crazy.
Sports
So
van.
they're like, okay, this is important. Someone has set this car on fire. And unfortunately, with damage this bad, they weren't really able to pull any fingerprints or DNA directly from the vehicle. But they did notice a few things inside. There was a purse, a jacket, a pair of shoes, and a pair of inside-out jeans with underwear, like still in the jeans, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I
Inside
just
out.
did not need that visual.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's important to the case.
Okay.
With the purse still there, detectives are like, okay, so someone didn't like break into this car, rob it, and then set it on fire. So they feel like that's not really a motive. But they ran the plates on for a name, and they get it back quickly. It is 19-year-old Sade Robinson's car. Now, remember, they have just been asked to do a welfare check on 19-year-old Sade at the same time. But there was something even more unsettling about the car, and that was the driver's seat. It was pushed pretty far back, but as police quickly realized, Sade wasn't a tall girl. She was only 5'1". There was no way that she had drove this vehicle with the seat in this position. She wouldn't have even been able to reach the pedals. So the officers actually tracked down a vehicle at a dealership that was the same make and model, and they had one of reporters take a seat inside. This is how they even prove their theory that someone much taller, probably around 6 feet, had probably driven the car before it was set on fire. But the question is, who and where was Sade? Because her or her body were not in her car. Well, it's a pretty busy day for police in the Milwaukee area because there is something else happening. 11 miles from where her car was discovered, something else surfaced a few hours after the car was found. That same day, April 2nd, a guy was out walking with his friend along the shoreline of Lake Michigan in an area called Warnemont Park. And he called the police saying, "Hey, I'm walking through this park and I found something disturbing." They were walking past this rocky wooded area when they believed that they spotted a human leg.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
not
Okay.
it's not sticking
No
out
big
of
deal.
it's not sticking out of the ground. It's like a human leg attached to nothing.
Just on the
else.
ground.
A severed human leg on the
I
ground.
don't know. I
Sinapchap
feel like
siya.
it would take me a second to believe.
I think so too.
Like if I saw a leg, I would be like, "That's a human leg." I'd be like, "That's
Like costume,
it's like a
Halloween
dummy.
prop.
It's a costume, mannequin, like
Yes.
something." There's no way I would be like, "That's a real human leg."
And the thing
Oh
is,
my gosh.
even when people find whole bodies, they do the same thing. Like, that's got to be a mannequin, it's got to be fake, there's just no way.
I don't know what's worse, finding an entire body or a leg.
Because a leg is so scary. Like, a
just like-
body's scary, but a leg is
It's like,
scary
whoa, like
too.
where's the body?
Yeah,
like, what
that's
happened to
so
the body?
eerie and, like, just off. You know, like, it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, authorities obviously get down, okay? So they have responded to this welfare check, this car on fire, and now they get a call that there is a leg in the park. So they come down, they get a closer look. Now, this leg appears to have been sewn off around the hip. So it is like a full-blown leg. The toes still have bright pink toenail polish on them, which again is just so, that detail alone is so unsettling because you're thinking of just this human leg, but then there's nail polish that's
Oh,
making it a
man.
real person, like a real person who had their toes painted or painted their toes, and now their leg is like in this park. It's just devastating. Now, they also quickly learned that the leg belongs to a black woman who was approximately 5 feet tall based on like the length of the leg. Here's the issue though.
Dang, that's just it's crazy. What?
Here's the issue with all of this. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department was the one who responded to the call about the leg, but the Milwaukee Police Department is the one who responded to the car. So they're not necessarily putting two and two together because it's two completely different departments responding to these two incidents.
Okay, that's a problem.
And it's not going to take long, but it's just not an immediate, oh, we found her car, this is not the leg. So we only as listeners know that. So at first the sheriff's department are like, we just have a homicide on our hands. Like, there is a leg here, where's the body? It takes them a few hours to learn that there was also a missing 19-year-old woman, Sade Robinson, whose car was also found. Now,
Upside is, that's pretty fast.
yes.
Like you're finding things quickly.
At this point, there was no confirmation the leg belonged to Sade. Obviously, they still needed to send it out for DNA testing first. They have a hunch. They're working on a hunch. So the next move was speaking with potential witnesses, like Sade's mother, Sheena, and her sister, Adriana, to see, hey, you're obviously involved in her life. Do you know where she was in the hours before she disappeared? This could potentially be her leg.
All right, we're jumping into an ad. It is IMA.
Provide the process for us. And
It's great for you too.
is you think you need a cabinet full of them to meeting doctors and researchers. Welcome kit, 5 free travels claimed. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended
We
to
talk about it all the time. Wear their underwear. Actually, that jacket you got from Skims the other day too.
You're liking it?
I'm a Skims fan.
Oh my God, ang ganda ng spray ng Charlotte
Honestly, I
Tilbury.
love Skims. You guys
In-expect ko
probably
magiging
talked about it
oily
for
na ako, pero
honestly months. I
It's good.
have ordered every single thing in there. So under one of my favorite pieces is Skims.com. And after you place your order, be sure April 3rd, officers visited Sheena's house. This is the mother's house. And when they spoke to her family, they claimed Sade didn't mention where she was going after work on the 1st. This is when she was last seen, was at work. But they did have access to something that might help. Sade was using an app on her phone, Life 360, which actually turns out to be more useful than the Find My app because it does keep more data. For example, when you look at Find My Friends, you can see where they are right now, but it doesn't tell you where they were at 10 p.m. yesterday. Life 360 does. Like you can have a history of location. And Sade had been sharing her location with her family. It showed that on the night of the 1st, Sade went to a place called the Twisted Fisherman. So this is after work when she was last seen. She goes to this Twisted Fisherman. It's a seafood restaurant. And then after this, she went to a spot called Duke's on Water before she ended up in a residential area near 39th in Oklahoma around 9:30 p.m. And then 3 hours later, after going to this residential area around 12:45 a.m., it's now April 2nd, her phone left the house in the residential area and eventually ended up in the park where the leg was found. And that is where Sade's phone eventually died at 4:35 a.m. that morning. So, obviously, police are looking at this and they're like, this feels like a potential date night, right? Like she goes to a restaurant,
Dude,
a
a
bar,
missing leg is insane.
and a phone.
Like, how are we just missing a leg?
So at this point, because police are like, hey, this is tied to the late Asla family, do you know if she frequents like specific? No, we have no idea why her phone would leave the house at 12:45 a.m. and go to this. Now, when detectives, their hearts obviously sink because by now they're like, the leg was found here, and we have an even stronger feeling it belongs to Sade. So now, equipped with her final location information, officers went over to the Twisted Fisherman. They're like, it's time to track down security footage of her whereabouts that no one has known about. And sure enough, when they pull up the tapes from the night of the 1st, there was Sade on the tapes, but she wasn't alone. Just like police had suspected, she was sitting at the bar with a white man.
It's interesting. I mean, it happens a lot. Like, for example, this happened to, it happens to, I'm just using this as an example, like Oliver Tree. It's where when people die, but then they have something you can walk towards into. Like, for example, she was killed, but then you go back and look at these videotapes.
That no one's seen, no one
Like, she
knew.
was just alive. And then they're dead. I know that concept can seem easy, but it's kind of weird if you start thinking about it. Like, they were alive, now they're dead. Like, they're gone. There's nothing there anymore.
And I think when it's an event that's affecting you personally,
Yeah.
because you have some sort of tie or relationship to the person, it's even more hard to get to like wrap your head around.
Death is just such a complex thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they see her with this white man, and they notice he's actually talking to the bartender quite a bit, like even more than Sade. But despite that, it does appear that they are on date. And then the two left the bar
You need to move
around
lang.
6:30.
Sa airport, sa airlines.
Presumably for the
Gets
second
mo?
location.
Kasi baka pag
You're
hindi.
just the height of your the chair.
Now, sometime during the course of the
I don't know, basta
investigation,
comfortable ako. So, yun.
access to the text
Okay.
messages sent to and from Sade's phone. And
Hindi ko matas naman, utol ako dito.
messages they learned
Kasi,
about
i-adjust ko
a
lang.
mysterious name no one knew about.
What
The
in
two
their mind?
police, her and this man had exchanged texts between 4:15 p.m. This was before Sade left work at the pizza shuttle.
Basta walang palit
And
pampara
they
sa
kept texting up until 5
mamaya na, pag
So about an hour. And during this hour exchange, the man
Nakikinig
asked,
ka ba?
"Are you hungry?
Okay lang.
I need to
Ikaw ba?
stop at
Parang
Twisted
parang
Fisherman to
Huwag na,
pick
huwag
up
mo na.
a W-2
Parang
from
pangit
last
kasi.
year,
Ano
and
ba bet
we
mo?
could
Oh,
first."
balik sa banggo.
Which might
Huwag ka bahala.
explain why he was so chatty chatty with the bartender.
Ay,
in
dapat-
the
dapat
footage
mag-details ka
because
lang, gusto mo.
He worked there in the past.
T-A-L-E-S. Hindi makwento mo na, kunwari, Little Mermaid, pero kukwento niya yung George Motels.
I'm feeling seafood. She replies, yes,
Podcast.
I love seafood.
Alam ko na yun.
Try ka isa.
And
Hindi, iba.
obviously,
Try ka
it
isa,
doesn't
please.
take long for police to figure out.
Snow White Fire Red.
The tales on this podcast.
Maganda yung, for me, maganda yung writer.
As a warning, the original story of Snow White Fire Red features
Ano Fire
sexual
Red?
situations, abuse,
Yung talaga
violence,
yung totoo niyang
murder,
ano.
and death.
Fire Red?
Hindi Snow White is the Seven Dwarfs.
Wait lang. Sige, hanggang natin.
Prince Titone groaned. His bocce ball had landed near the old spring. His cousin Fernando cheered as he ran to fetch it. The game didn't seem fair. At 10, Fernando was 3 years older and a head taller than Titone. As Titone reached for the ball, the ground began to shake. His heart nearly stopped when he looked up. A hulking figure walked towards him, an ogress. She was at least 10 feet tall, with bones braided into her wild red hair. Rotting, pointed teeth poked out from her lips in all directions. When Fernando called out, Titone motioned for him to be quiet. He signaled frantically at the approaching ogress, but the older boy chuckled. That old hag won't do anything. If she lays so much as a finger on us, your mother would send a dozen soldiers to burn her alive.
Hinaan mo ka lang.
The young prince bit his lip. Fernando laughed again. Don't believe me? Hey, ugly, come here. The ogress ignored him. She pulled out a clay jug and knelt beside the spring to fill it. Titone's eyes went wide. Fernando incited him. Don't be a baby. Try it. Titone nodded. He squared his shoulders and took a deep breath. Hey, hag! Without a thought, he flung his ball at the creature. It hit the clay jar, cracking it in two. Fernando hid behind a tree, terrified, but Titone froze, his mind blank as the ogress turned to face him. Suddenly, she seemed at least 20 feet tall. She roared. I may not be able to hurt you, but I can curse you.
Okay.
The wind stirred as the ogress chanted, 1,000 women might vie for your bed, but everyone will end up dead. Titone suddenly felt woozy. The ogress locked eyes with him. The only one woman you can wed is the maiden called Snow White Fire Red.
What?
Bips, bawal yan. What? What?
Snow White Fire Red? Snow White Fire Red?
Yeah.
Ganda ng pangalan, Fire Red. Yung kumilam.
I'm Vanessa Richardson. You're listening to Tales, a small
Pa-schedule ako ng linis natin, ah.
Every Wednesday, we dive
Kailan?
into the dark origins
Ito?
of a new
Kailan?
fairy tale. You
This
can
month.
find all episodes of Tales.
Sa linis dito sa...
Laser away.
Originals from Parcast for
Wala namang ito na Liva Mark.
Huwag ka na nga. Ako na lang.
Kailan? Kasi pag uwi tayo sa Pilipinas, ano
Oo
ba?
nga, actually.
Ano ba?
O, di ba?
Lab.
Tawag.
Pagbalik, ayoko yung...
Aasarin ko ng mampo.
Huwag mo kadami dyan sa mga ano na...
Oh, ba't ka na naman galit?
After na.
Ay. Snow
Coming up,
Fire Red.
Since the truth
Bakit may
about the ogress's curse.
Hydradenitis suppurativa symptoms may be called
Kadiri yung hydradenitis.
Advertisement lang.
Snow White Fire Red was first recorded in Sicily.
Fire Red.
Snow White Fire
By an
Red.
Italian doctor named Giuseppe Pitre. Like many of the stories Pitre collected, this one combines elements from nearly half a dozen other tales. One of them is likely familiar to modern readers. A hero gains entry to a heroine's tower by climbing up her long hair. Thanks to the popular 1812 collection Grimm's Fairy Tales, this trope is usually associated with Rapunzel
Bakit?
Yet Snow White
Saan, sa Korea?
knows
Hindi,
that
dito.
this
Sa
Oh,
mall.
I mean, no, why?
doesn't assure freedom, much less a happily ever after. If she lives
Hindi ako bibili sa Olivia.
Lab,
Titignan ko lang
kung makita ka go, wala.
Titignan ko lang kung okay, hindi ko na ito bibilin kasi meron naman here.
Go.
just as good.
Pero may tax pala sila doon ah.
Oh, wala mo lang.
Totome's heart dropped as his mother entered his bedchamber. She held a letter in her hand. He took a deep breath. What is it this time? Queen Canatela sat beside him and sighed heavily. Lucrezia of Naples has been met with an unfortunate accident. Titone groaned and fell back against the bed. Oh, that's the fourth one this month. I'm nearly 19. I should be king by now. But no, father insisted I be married before assuming the throne. Meanwhile, if I even so much think about a woman, she drops dead. Your father made stipulation because he thought marriage would give you the wisdom and maturity needed to rule. And as for this supposed curse, won't hear another word. I've told you 1,000 times, it's not real. The prince crossed his arms. If I'm not cursed, then why did that Swedish princess choke on a grape? And why did the French one get stung to death by bees?
Nakamatay lang
The
yun.
Duchess of Monaco's daughter. She was crushed by a chandelier the same day I wrote to her about an engagement.
Nakamatay lahat.
Queen Canatela sighed. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if it was all because of some curse? Then you could just marry this Snow White Fire Red you're always going on about. Alas, there are no curses. Sometimes terrible things just happen. She rose to her feet, and just as she was leaving, reminded Titone his cousin Fernando had arrived for his visit. Why don't you do something to distract yourself? Get out of this room. Find Fernando. Go have fun. Titone groaned yet again and lay back on his bed. His mother had never believed in the curse. She claimed his encounter with the ogress had been nothing more than a dream. He wanted to believe it. In fact, he often wondered if maybe she was right. Perhaps he'd imagined the whole thing. After all, he'd been so young at the time. But there were more to the story his mother didn't know. He'd never told her about the maidservant who dropped dead after he kissed her, the courtier who fell from a high tower after he'd written her an erotic poem, or the others who met their demise after he'd pursued them. So long as he remained cursed, he'd never lay with a woman. That meant he'd never be a real man, much less a king. Suddenly, Titone sat up. If the encounter with the ogress had been real, Fernando could attest to it. He'd been there to witness it. The prince shook off his malaise, hope rising in his chest. He hadn't seen his cousin in years, and his visit could not have come at a better time. Titone found his cousin saddling a horse down at the stables. As soon as Fernando spotted him, he grabbed Titone and tousled his hair. Titone pushed him away, getting right down to business. Fernando, wonderful to see you after all these years. Apologies for my brevity, but I need to ask you something. Do you remember an incident when we were children? We were playing down by the old spring and we saw an ogress. Fernando interrupted him. She cursed you, I remember. The prince stared at him. So it did happen. Why didn't you ever tell me? Fernando laughed. You were there. Besides, who even knows if the curse was real? Titone's cheeks grew hot and red. It is real. Every girl I've set my sights on, much less asked to wed, has died unexpectedly. Unless I find a way to break that curse, I'll never lay with a woman. Fernando gave him a smug look. What's your plan? Go to the land of the ogres and ask around for Snow White Fire Red? The prince balled his hands up into fists. Actually, I think that's exactly what I'll do. His cousin laughed. Remember how scared you were of the one ogress? Titone's nostrils flared. He grabbed Fernando's sword, ripped the horse's reins from his was different then, young and naive. I'm not a kid anymore. It's time to solve this once and for all. Then Titone bolted out of the stable without another word. Titone rode towards the northern mountains, feeling determined, even as the landscape started to change. The fields became barren, the blue sky dark and cloudy. Finally, he came to a path that snaked between two craggy peaks. This was the Flayed Man's Pass, the only entryway to the land of the ogres. The sun set as Titone made his way through, plunging deeper into the mountains. Eventually, the horse could go no further. The trail had become narrow and treacherous. Titone dismounted the animal by the side of one last little grassy grove and patted it on the nose. Enjoy the grass and wait for me here if you can. Then he continued on foot. The mountains around Titone resounded with eerie noises, growls, hisses, and the faint flapping of bat wings. He was far beyond the reaches of his mother's soldiers now. There was no telling what would happen if an ogre found him. As Titone inched ahead, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was trailing him. He was climbing over a boulder when he finally heard it. Heavy thuds, like massive footsteps. Titone froze to listen, but the sound stopped immediately. He scrambled down from the rock and quickened his pace. The stomps started up again, this time faster. As the moon emerged from behind a cloud, Titone gripped his sword and turned to face his pursuer.